Peripheral neuropathy, spinal, diabetic, or vascular. Which one do you have? Peripheral neuropathy doesn't just cause pain, it steals your life. If you can't take the numbness or the relentless stabbing and burning sensation, then join Dr. Tom Roselle at the Roselle Center for Healing for a free health class on peripheral neuropathy on Wednesday, May 20th at 6 p.m. Stop managing misery and finally learn how to live without pain. Reserve your seat today. Call 703-698-7117 or visit rosellecare.com.
This is Dr. Tom Roselle. After 43 years of practice and over 1 million patient visits, the Roselle Center for Healing knows what works and knows how you can take control of your health and wellness. My team of doctors practice 21st century integrative medicine. Whether you suffer from chronic pain and fatigue, allergies, or headaches, we can help. Take charge of your health before it's too late. Make an appointment today. Call 703-698-7117 or visit online at rosellecare.com. That's rosellecare.com.
Dr. Tom Roselle live right now on 105.9 FM WMAL.
The information provided on Dr. Tom Roselle Live by Dr. Tom Roselle, DC, interview guests, show co-hosts, or substitute hosts is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. It is for general information purposes only. Information from this broadcast should not replace the appropriate consultation and examination process by a licensed physician. Always consult your own physician prior to changing any current medical directive or prescription.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ageless Health. Dr. Tom Roselle Live, yours truly, right here on WMAL 105.9 in the nation's capital. Glad you're here with me because we got a continuation of a program today that we're going to maybe save your legs, so somebody doesn't get rid of them. What do I mean by that? It's called, we're talking about neuropathy and all kinds of things, whether it's diabetic neuropathy or spinal stenosis, and even something called central neuropathy. And I want you to be aware that, all of these things really can make life permanently miserable for you. And we don't want that to happen to any of you. So we're going to get into the Twix a little bit. And by the way, all of this is leading into an in-house presentation on Wednesday, May the 20th at 6 p.m. at the Roselle Center in Fairfax. And Dr. Jerry Cowart, very amazing, intellectual, knows his stuff, doc, is going to be co-presenting. But this one, I'm going to get into the weeds with you. And I'm going to actually demonstrate and show you some of the neurological, mechanical things that can be done to relieve neuropathic problems. And so join us at the Roselle Center in Fairfax at 6 p.m. on May the 20th, coming up like very, very quickly, in a couple days, right? Real soon. So you can do it one of two ways to register. Call the office at 703-698-7117, 703-698-7117, or simply go online at rosellecare.com. ROSELLECARE.com. I'm going to introduce you to a piece of equipment called a deactor. I'm going to show you what low light energy laser is. We're going to talk about spinal decompression when it's a stenotic problem. We're going to show you a lot of different things. I'm going to get into it very specifically, things that you can do and take home, but you're going to have the time to find out. I'll give you a couple of things today. We're going to talk about some of the things that you need to be aware of, some nutritional supplementation that is there and available for you. Those of you who are not patients of ours, if you go into the website, go to drtomroselle.com and you go up to the toolbar and click on Ageless Health Store, and you click on the box there, you'll find a way to order all the things that I'm talking about today. And maybe just doing that will help you a lot. Anyway, let's get into it just a little bit. Let's talk about the pieces of the puzzle that you need to be aware of. Saving your butt is what we're talking about. 5 steps, if you will, to save your legs from neuropathy. Now, when you take a look at that broad base, when I'm talking about saving your legs, diabetic neuropathy can cost you your legs. It can cost you piece by piece, starting with your toes and start amputating because they turn black. That's called gangrene. And you're not getting any circulatory pattern to it. And then before that, you're going to see changes in scab patterns and so forth. So we want to make sure that you know that you should not set it aside. So what do we want to do? We want to improve circulatory pattern, whether it's a diabetic neuropathic problem or it's a stenosis coming from the spine. That means the nerve that goes to your legs is being crushed. Or if it's something that is in addition to that, and that could be a inflammatory reaction due to something else that's going on in your system. So we want to make sure that you increase your blood flow. How would you do that? How can you do that and allow that to enhance putting off the inevitable? If you did nothing else, what would you do? What else is important? What else can you do? How about going for a walk every day? Get yourself out of that chair. Get yourself outside. And patients look at me, well, I can't walk that far. Great. So you walk for 5 minutes one way, you turn around and you come back and you walk 5 minutes the other way. And then maybe since you're home, because you're saying that you can't walk, then do it again later on in the day. 5 minutes one way, 5 minutes the other. And then if you can't do that, maybe do 3 minutes one way and 3 minutes the other, even if you're on canes or walkers and so forth. Look, just doing that will improve your circulation. It'll help relieve pain. It'll get the stiffness, the tightness out of your system. So that's one thing that you can do, right? All right. So what else can you do? We need to make sure you have adequate amounts of nutrition within that system. Look, your nerves that go down to your legs and your hands and your arms and your fingertips and your toes and so forth are, they communicate. They allow everything to work. They allow the muscles to work. They increase the circulatory pattern, but they need to be nourished like anything else in your body. And there are very specific things like vitamin B1, it's called thiamine, and things like B12, right? So it's you'll read it in the cheap form, it's called cyanocobalamin. But one of the things that work really well is a product called hydroxycobalamin. And Biotics Laboratory produces this in conjunction, in combination with something called folate, because you have to have folate to be able to transport B12 into that tissue. But B1, B12, and a little bit of vitamin E, which helps heal the tissue, a little copper. Now, you can get it through your diet, but you have to make sure that you're eating enough eggs on probably 5 days a week. And by the way, eggs are good for you. Don't buy in the cholesterol thing, because that's really an error. They've been duping you down for a long period of time. Eggs are good. Just get free range, organic from grass-fed chickens and so forth. And these guys, they have something called choline in it. Choline is necessary to replenish, to nourish the covering, if you will, of the long nerves. That covering is called myelin. It's a myelin sheath, whether it's in your brain, in the spinal cord, in the peripheral nerves, and things like good nuts and leafy green vegetables and so forth, things like that. So when you supply those nutrients, when you make sure that you're getting the right stuff, you slow the process down. Even if you've been messing it up, you screwed it up, by doing other things like eating what? You first of all, take a look at yourself in the mirror. How much extra do you have around that midline? If it's there and you say, yeah, but I've been trying everything, well, that's telling me that your HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal system, is not working the way it's supposed to, not getting it done. And that's your fight-flight system. That's the one that puts out your steroids. That's the one that helps you provoke your pancreas to do what? To produce insulin, so you can transport the blood sugars the way you're supposed to. But if you know you've been eating a pound of sugar a day, you know what? We got to have a long conversation, you and I, and we have to make sure that you make some very major choices. Remember, we've talked about something called glycation. Glycation is what happens when you put a cup of sugar in a saucepan and you turn the heat on very, very low level, and it congeals, it coagulates. Okay, that brown, sticky, thick stuff that's in the pan instead of the white sugar that you think you like. That's what happens in the body. That's what happens to the nerve roots. That's what happens to cell receptors, that lock and key that you've heard me talk about so many times. So nothing can transport. You can't get stuff in, you can't get stuff out. So that's what glycation is. And by the way, if you want to know if you are susceptible to glycation, take a look at your skin. You know those little scabby brown spots that you have that are not cancerous, and those are glycated patterns. So if you drink a little alcohol, you drink sugar, you eat sugars that you shouldn't be eating, then, and you're not exercising, because exercise will break that up, by the way. Did you hear me? Exercise will break that up. Walking, you remember walking? That will make a huge difference. So if you see those spots, that's called glycation. And that's what happens inside your body if you're eating the wrong things and you're not increasing the burn rate and getting rid of those things out of your system. So we want to make sure that you're walking, you're swimming, you do a little stretching, a little do Tai Chi, a little yoga, even put 2 pillows. Say, well, I'm off balance all the time. I can't walk without my walker or my cane. Okay, great. Let me give you another piece that can help you with. And what would that be? Real simple. Get 2 bed pillows, right, off your bed, put them on the floor, one on top of the other, next to your bed. And I want you to take your shoes and your socks off. And I want you to stand on those bed pillows. And so you don't fall, you can right by the bed. And I want you to step up and down, up and down, up and down. What's that going to do? It's going to stimulate the long tracts within your spinal column, your spinal cord, and give you better balance, increasing the neurological signaling, not only to keep you stable, but also to the muscles that they control and also the organ systems that they're continually touching, right? So I just gave you a couple of things you can do, right? We talked about some nutrients that work. We're talking about doing a little bit of exercise. All of these things are great. Now, we're giving you 3 things already. How about protecting your feet? So what are we going to do to protect our feet? We're going to do things like, making sure that our shoes are really good. We're not going to get those crappy, toes at the front of the foot. We're going to make sure we have good arch support. We're going to make sure that we exercise our feet on a regular basis. Get yourself a little golf ball, put it on the floor, take your shoes and socks off, or you can leave your socks on if you're chicken, and just rub your foot back and forth on this golf ball. You can use a tennis ball. They're just not that hard. And go back and forth and side to side. And you find a spot that's a little sensitive, that means that you got a problem there. And just, so the first few times you do that, it might leave it a little tender. So guess what? Soak your dogs in a bowl of water with some Epsom salt and warm water and get rid of that irritation that you caused. But keep doing it, and you'll find that your feet will become much more flexible. Now, look, getting cool around certain things that are going to be harmful, meaning what? Be aware that you may not be supportive in your lifestyle. What do I mean by that? How many of you smoke or even vape, or you're doing drugs, or you're on tons of other medications that, oh, by the way, have a side effect of called, neuropathic problems, numbing, tingling, that sort of things, loss of sensation. If that's the case, I would have a long conversation with your doc and say, Doc, since I've been taking these things, this is what's been showing up. How many of you are getting cramping just out of nowhere, or your legs hurt, you're screaming, they hurt? You know where that's from? That's called statin side effect. All the cholesterol medication that you're on, yeah, telling you now, that's the problem. And most of you that have been put on statins, my opinion, based on biofunctional medical protocols, don't need them. You need other things. But if you're on them, coenzyme Q10 is a must. You must do that, and your B complexes, and making sure magnesium is plentiful in your diet. A lot of times that hurt, that pain, that ache, that strain comes from not enough magnesium. So you have to make sure that it's available to you. Now, this coming Wednesday evening, the 20th, I'm going to get into this stuff in depth, my friends. You're going to go home with so much information. I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to show you. We're going to, show you what you can get done and how to ask the right questions of your doctors. Generally, I'll start these programs out. I'll introduce the topic and I'll let the doctors run with it. But this is one that I want to do some demos and I want you to get it. So we're going to have a laser out there. We're going to have the deactor machine out there. We're going to do some other things that will show you what is possible. I'm going to show you muscle weakness and how immediately right there in front of you, you're going to see muscles turn around and start firing again. That tells you that they can be rehabilitated. They can be restored. How many of you go up the stairs and you can't do it because your legs are screaming, they're aching like crazy, and you avoid it, or you have to sidestep going up the stairs, or you have to sidestep going down the stairs? We'll show you what muscles are involved. And more importantly, I'm going to show you when they're inhibited, I mean weakened, and get it done. By the way, somebody was asking me, and sometimes I'm neglectful. The Roselle Center has a lot of different tentacles out there, and we want to make sure that you have the availability. Some of you are, further out than in the Fairfax office, and I mean way out. You're in Winchester and West Virginia and so forth. Although, we have a lot of patients that come in to see us. But did you know that we have another office in the Broadlands, out in the Ashburn area? Yep, we do. And it's run by a really great doc. His name is Dr. Leonard Poe. And the practice is called Core Concepts Chiropractic. And it's out in the Broadlands, Core Concepts Chiropractic. And so any of the things that we're talking about here in this particular situation can be done there. Dr. Poe is amazing. So give him a call. If Fairfax office is way out of your range and you want somebody who can manage this stuff and do it the right way, give him a call. He's a great guy. He knows his stuff really well, been in practice quite a while. He's part of our crazy group. And he's the one that I trust, to treat me, to treat my family and so forth. So Core Concepts Chiropractic in Ashburn. Give the man a call, and you will be very happy that you did. If you're out in that area, you're out in the Leesburg area, out in West Virginia, you can get in there pretty quickly. Harper's Ferry area, you can come in very, very rapidly. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the nutritional supplementation, if you will, that can really make a difference. We just touched on it a little bit, but I want you to know more about it, what you can do about it, where you can find it, if you will, right? And more importantly, are you a candidate? Is it something that is going to make a difference for you? All right, we talked about B complex, right? So vitamin B complex are useful in treating any kind of neuropathy. So according to a lot of studies that are out there, B complex, when combined with the omega fatty acids, fish oils, and things like curcumin, they are huge in helping treat the damage of neuropathy. And they begin to reverse things. They begin to turn things around. So when we talk about neuropathy, just as a reminder, right? Just as a reminder, we use that term to describe all these conditions that affect the nerves, that cause pain, irritation, numbness, burning, tingling, vibration, and so forth. And unfortunately, two very common causes of that are diabetes and chemotherapy. Now, I don't want you to go out and take diabetic drugs because they have huge side effects. What I want you to do is commit to yourself to turn things around. So while there are a lot of conventional ways of treating this, ones that I'm going to tell you don't do that unless you don't have any other choice, period. There's so many different ways of changing this thing. So your B complexes, we talked a little bit about that, particularly thiamine. Thiamine and another one called benfotiamine. So B6, B12, and make sure you have enough folate to transport it. Now, B12 is one cause of peripheral neuropathy. Without treatment, it can cause permanent nerve damage if you don't have enough B12 in there. Trust me, I get people that come in, and sometimes it's too late. They've gone down that tube. They're starting to lose circulatory patterns. You see the blood supply loss. And we use infrared thermographic imaging to show whether or not the blood supply has been damaged. And we do that in-house. And when you come this coming Wednesday evening, we're going to talk about that. And we're going to actually show you the camera. We're going to pull it out. We'll show you what it does and make sure that you understand that there's a very specific diagnostic criteria. But guess what? If you don't want to go buy nutrition, you can do things with meats and fish and poultry and eggs and organic raw dairy products and so forth. Now, there's something called alpha lipoic acid, or ALA, and it's a tremendous antioxidant and can be useful in treating all kinds of diabetic problems and cancers and things of that nature. Huge impact with pain and tingling and prickling and numbness and the burning sensation and so forth. And it has to be taken in the right amounts based on with the background. But the studies go from 600 to 1200 milligrams. And sometimes we crank it up to where you're taking quite a bit for short periods of times. Then we bring it back down to levels. The studies, in many of the studies, will show that 600 milligrams is great, and you don't get that much more benefit, but you get some if you increase it. What we see is that taking 600 milligrams several times a day for a short period of time and then reducing the platform seems to, but again, it's individualistic based on what else is being done and whether or not this is starting in your spine from a spinal stenosis problem. Now, there's foods, right? Okay. Do you like liver? You know, when I grew up, I used to love liver, but in today's world, because of the way they feed our animals, beef liver is questionable. So if you can get Amish meats and so forth and livers, if you can get grass-fed, free range, maybe you would do that. It's really good for you if you can get those pieces in you. Red meats of any kind, broccoli, spinach, Brussels sprouts, Bruges yeast. Yeah, Bruges yeast. It's in all kinds of stuff. And it's, by the way, if you've got acne, Bruges yeast is one of the best things that you could do for juvenile onset acne. You know, with all the hormonal garbage going down the pike, it's usually a B complex problem. And the Bruges yeast will give you all the B complex that is very rapid and very usable. So alpha lipoic acid was what we're talking about. It reduces the neuropathic pain. Huge study, by the way, that we're probably 9-10 years out. I think it's back in 2017, but you can check me on that. And they found that the ALA, or the alpha lipoic acid, was extremely useful in protecting against oxidative destruction, damage with people who have diabetic neuropathy. What does that mean? That means it's gone to the place where the nerve root can't be restored anymore, and you're going to lose something at some point. So would it be great to get to it before that and be able to get the muscle functions to working, get the spinal stenosis to go away? But exercise, right? But you got to be cautious when you do that. You have to make sure that when you're exercising, you're taking the right nutrition bases, you're doing other things, because when you exercise, you're burning up a lot of the stuff. If you're drinking alcohol and you have neuropathic problems, shame on you. Stop it. And just tell me that you don't like yourself very much. You've got to stop the nonsense, because it's going to make it much worse. You're going to eat up your B complex like it's going on style. Your liver's going to be inflamed. You can't process poisons. And then there's a product called acetyl L-carnitine. It's an amino acid, and it has very high levels of antioxidants as well, and it helps reduce pain. It regenerates. It actually will regenerate nerve fibers, acetyl L-carnitine, right? But it has to be acetyl L, like left, right? Like Louis, carnitine. Don't just get acetylcarnitine, acetyl L-carnitine, and it improves nerve conduction. Now, remember, I said you could go into our website at the Ageless Health store, and you can check all this stuff out. It's all there. I promise you, you'll find everything that you want. So just doing that, and then curcumin, which is anti-inflammatory, and fish oils, you know, which are also anti-inflammatory. They're great in treating this. The bottom line is this: talk to somebody like me. Find out where you have a spinal-related problem that's causing this. Find out it's a diabetic problem. Find out if there's blows and trauma. Find out it's a chemical irritation, poison that's in your system that's causing it. And remember, as I said, coming up 20th in just a couple of days, join us, but you got to register for the class. So do it today, or you can go to rosellecare.com or drtomroselle.com, register or call the office. We'd love to have you there. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to do a lot of show and tell. It's going to be a great night. And those of you who are out in the Ashburn area, don't forget Core Concepts Chiropractic, Dr. Leonard Poe. Then we're not doing the class out there, but he's a doc that knows his stuff and can turn this stuff around. So give him a call if you're out in the Leesburg, Harpers Ferry area and you want the haul into Fairfax is too long for you. But I'm looking forward to seeing all of you this coming Wednesday evening. And by the way, a little sidebar, Via Vienna is coming up over Memorial Weekend. And guess who's going to be there? Yep, the Roselle Center will be there with their whole staff on Sunday and Monday. So join us then. We're coming up to the break, and this is a sad part of the program for me, because I could sit here and talk to you all afternoon. and continue the process moving forward. But remember, I'm here every week for one reason only. You deserve the information, but more importantly, I love you all. Have a great Sunday. Take care. See you Wednesday night.
Breast cancer is a major health risk to all women. It can silently grow uninterrupted for years. The Thermography Centers of Fairfax reminds all women to conduct monthly and annual breast exams. Consider a thermography scan from the Thermography Centers as an adjunct to your routine breast exams. Digital infrared thermal imaging is safe and non-invasive. For more information and to schedule an appointment, call 703-520-7591 or visit thermographycenters.com.
Neuromuscular dentistry is more than just teeth and gums. Temporomandibular joint disorder can be painful, and only a skilled neuromuscular dentist can diagnose and treat it. If you are in pain and suffering from TMD, call the neuromuscular dentistry experts at Soft Touch Dental Care. Learn more about TMD and how Dr. Michael Chung has successfully treated his patients. Call 703-319-6990 for a complimentary consultation or visit bestinsmile.com. That's 703-319-6990 or visit bestinsmile.com. Peripheral neuropathy, spinal, diabetic, or vascular. Which one do you have? Peripheral neuropathy doesn't just cause pain, it steals your life. If you can't take the numbness or the relentless stabbing and burning sensation, then join Dr. Tom Roselle at the Roselle Center for Healing for a free health class on peripheral neuropathy on Wednesday, May 20th at 6 p.m. Stop managing misery and finally learn how to live without pain. Reserve your seat today. Call 703-698-7117 or visit rosellecare.com.
This is Dr. Tom Roselle. After 43 years of practice and over 1 million patient visits, the Roselle Center for Healing knows what works and knows how you can take control of your health and wellness. My team of doctors practice 21st century integrative medicine. Whether you suffer from chronic pain and fatigue, allergies, or headaches, we can help. Take charge of your health before it's too late. Make an appointment today. Call 703-698-7117 or visit online at rosellecare.com. That's rosellecare.com.